Hi, this is Ben from the Airflow Brief, and I am bringing you a very special announcement. As you can see, I've got Ash and Kaxil with me today. And so please introduce yourself and tell us more about what just happened 5 minutes ago.
I'm Ash Berlin-Taylor, one of the members of the PMC, the Project Management Committee of Airflow. And my key focus over the last 6 months was the AI 15 scheduler performance and scalability. Kaxil?
Hey, I'm Kaxil. I am also Airflow PMC member and a committer in the Airflow project and a release manager along with Ash for last 12, 15 releases, I guess. And my main focus has also been around the scheduler and yeah.
Cool. And about 5 minutes ago, we pushed the button. Airflow 2.0 is live. It's available.
Woo!
We've launched it. We've done it. It's been big. So just kind of like the full changelog is something like 3,000 commits. So we can't go through all of them. But the main features, there's a task flow API, which is a much nicer way of writing your DAGs. It kind of removes a lot of the boilerplate, particularly when you use Python operator. There's a kind of fully featured non-experimental REST API with published Open API specification. So that's kind of supported and has a lot more coverage of kind of endpoints. Kaxil and I's work for a good chunk of the last 6 months. Massive scheduler performance improvements, and also making the scheduler highly available. You can now officially run more than one scheduler, and we will support it, try and fix any bugs. Hopefully there shouldn't be any, but added a new concept called task groups. Sub-DAGs used to exist. They were often just used for kind of like visually grouping tasks in a DAG, but sub-DAGs had some kind of weird things just because of how they're implemented. So we've kind of taken a step back and went, what do people want to do? And added this concept called task groups, which is just a visual grouping. We've refreshed and restyled the UI. So it kind of now looks a whole lot nicer.
Auto refresh.
And we added auto refresh to the graph view. Yes, if you're on the graph view, it will auto refresh by default. You don't no longer have to hit F5. Smart sensors. So this one was contributed by Airbnb, still one of the largest single Airflow installs in the world. They have a thing so that kind of sensors can cooperate and work together so that you don't end up with like 60% of your tasks doing nothing but running a sensor. We kind of greatly simplified the Kubernetes executor, which from a maintenance point of view means less work for us, but from a user point of view means you can now do more or anything that the Kubernetes API lets you do without having to wait for us to add it. So that's great. And then we've split the core of Airflow into kind of like Airflow core and provider packages, so that we can start to have different release cadence for the core and providers, so that kind of changes to operators can get out quicker. And then some security improvements, REST API, things like that. And configuration's been reorganized a bit to just kind of make things more sensible. Just kind of, chance for 2.0 Semver, it's kind of, breaking in air quotes. Just kind of reorganize things and a chance for a refresh.
Wow. So I know you two are pretty humble, but can you tell us, word on the street is that you've, I don't know if I can use the word single-handedly, but you did a lot with the HA scheduler. Can you tell us, the work you put into that?
Yeah, it started when? Before I think Ash went for the paternity leave.
It started before I went to paternity leave, so that would have been started sometime in June. Paternity leave happened, and then kind of it got a hacky but working version before I went off, and then came back 6 weeks later and crammed to get it in and get it tested and documented well enough that kind of the rest of the Airflow committers were happy that yes, this works. Yes, you've done a good job. Yes, this is supportable. So it's kind of, we've seen some impressive performance numbers. I think my previous Airflow brief where I showed the two side by side really kind of hits home just how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah, we created lots of different scenarios and benchmark to mimic the real world DAGs. We had like different shapes and dependencies of DAGs to make sure that we cover all the cases, and we tested performance against all of them. And yeah, like Ash mentioned, the performance for all the cases were skyrocketed, and that just makes us feel bad about the 110x releases. That why didn't we do it earlier? But yeah, it was a long time due. A lot of effort was put from the community itself. We have been organizing these dev calls, the community dev calls. We started with like 2 weekly calls where everyone was invited. Everyone in the community can join the call, and most of the committers did. And we were planning, scoping out on where we need to cut 2.0, feature freeze them. We decided on a timeline. We cut the first alphas in 22nd October, I think. Let me double check. 12th of October, sorry. The first alpha was cut then, and we kept the beta release period a bit long purposefully so that we and everyone can have enough time for testing this, because this is such a massive release. Like all the features Ash mentioned, we needed to make sure that we test them properly. So the beta lifecycle was more than a month and a half. Yeah, so 9th November was when we first released the first betas, and today we cut 2.0.
Yeah, that kind of brings to the next point of just, it's a huge release. You know, I think over 3,000 commits or close to 3,000 commits. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Airflow as a whole project is about 10,000 in total. And so
about that, yeah,
we're looking at like a 30%, jump. So that's huge. And I know there's going to be some people that are going to think, how is this all going to work? Don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of like
work.
a lot of testing by a lot of people. We've got automated tests, of course, but those are far from complete coverage. As Kaxil mentioned, we kind of have this extended alpha and beta period. So a normal release would have kind of like maybe a 3 or a 5 day testing period. This one we've done almost 2 months. So yeah, we kind of had 6 weeks of alpha and betas, where we have kind of a lot of members of the community kind of test it out, particularly because of the scheduler HA. A lot of people were kind of screaming out for the performance thing. So we had a lot of people test it and find bugs, which is good and bad. It means that they were testing it, so it's always nice to see that. But thing, and then kind of like slowly people keep testing and say, "Yep, my problem's fixed," and my problem's fixed. So we're kind of getting there. And then inside Astronomer itself, we have had our QA team wailing on it, stress testing it, performance testing, all sorts of kind of things like that, kind of scaling up and down, and kind of killing schedulers midway through, and just kind of doing what QA engineers do and trying to find all the odd edge cases where it breaks. And yeah, so it's kind of like, it's a big release, but it's also had a lot of testing, far more testing than any of our other Airflow releases ever get. So yeah, I'm happy that it's worked. It's going to be good.
Shout out to Ernest on the Astronomer QA team. He's leading that up. I really appreciate what he's been doing. So, let's get to it. How do you get your hands on 2.0? How do you upgrade to it? If you're using Airflow, if you're not using Airflow, how do you get it?
Yeah. So if you've currently got an Airflow install and you want to keep things around, your kind of task history and stuff, which I assume most people do, make sure you are first on the latest 110 series of release. So right now it's 110.14. And then there is a command where you can run called Airflow upgrade_check. So Airflow space upgrade_check. That will run a whole load of checks against your DAGs and your database and your config file, and tell you if you've got any things that we can obviously say you're going to need to change. A lot of those changes, if you happen to ignore them, should still work, and you'll get a deprecation warning on 2.0. So it's not going to kind of break anything. The one major breaking change, which is why it's 2.0 in the first place, is we've dropped support for Python 2. Python 2 has been end of life by Python January this year. So all of 2020, Python 2 has been unsupported. That's the main reason for this being 2.0, is that we've rearranged a whole load of things and stuff, but we put in kind of backwards compatibility layers so that your old DAGs stand a good chance of working. Not going to say they're all going to work, but stand a very good chance of working. So yeah, kind of run this upgrade check script, fix up what it suggests, then install Airflow 2.0, run Airflow DB upgrade as it now is, and launch it. So kind of like any release, upgrade your DB, and off you go.
All right.
Yeah, and with the upgrade check command, we'll constantly keep on updating it. As soon as we find new checks or something we missed, we'll keep on updating it and release it separately. Our main intention or goal was to make it similar to Pi 223. But yeah, we'll keep on adding more stuff as soon as we find that something is missing. So please make sure that you are on the latest version of upgrade check. One of the check, by the way, it checks that the version you have installed is on the latest version, so it will fail if you are not.
Thank you for that. So with Astronomer, we've been deeply involved in this process, and so 2.0 is available on our cloud product right now. So reach out to me if you'd like to get hooked up with a free trial, and it'll take a minute to spin up your Airflow and see 2.0 for yourself. So really excited to have you guys here. It's a momentous day. So thank you for your time, and see you next time on the Airflow Brief.
Thanks
Thank you very much, Ben.